Right. Short story reading, Lamia's Feast. Reader, 3rd year Class B, Sonoko Koga. Right. 1. The month of July after school. Where? St. Mary's Academy for Girls. Who? 3rd year student Itsumi Shiraishi. What? Itsumi's bloody corpse. Why? Unknown. How? A fall from the terrace. This is a rough breakdown of the basic facts surrounding the Itsumi Shiraishi incident. I always try to organize things using the 5W1H technique my father taught me. No matter what the topic is, depending on the situation, you can add whom to make 6Ws 1H and then how much for 6W 2H. Okay, wait. The lamp is flickering like crazy. Lamp is kind of scuffed. Okay. As you can see, the why in this case is unknown. Speculations are being tossed around. Was it an accident? Was it suicide? Was it murder? I will relate my account of the incident. My story may be of value to you because I know how it really happened. So the pentagram, oi. Now, before I write about Itsumi Shiraishi's death, I must first tell you about my relationship with her. Itsumi Shiraishi and I were in the same grade and shared a science class. We both dreamed of becoming doctors. We rooted for and sometimes competed against each other for better grades. We each aimed to get into a university with a top-ranked medical program. Itsumi Shiraishi was a worthy rival, as it were. My father, who passed away 2 years ago, originally inspired me to become a doctor. He was fantastic at the job. He used to work at a teaching hospital and later opened his own small clinic to work as a family physician in our region. While he may not have had the newest medical equipment, he would peruse monthly academic magazines, attend scientific conferences and study sessions, and did everything else that he could to stay current with the latest medical knowledge and techniques. Knowing patients know their own symptoms best, he would diligently listen to his patients as they described their symptoms, then find the cause of their illness and search for a cure. My father never stopped believing in learning from your patients. Masses of people attended my father's funeral. I sat with my family and watched a long line of attendees offer incense. Like an elderly man who'd been my father's patient since his clinic first opened, a woman who'd been his patient since she was in kindergarten and who brought her own toddler there, were 3 generations of a family who all went to him for primary care, and I was surprised to see how many patients he had actually taken care of and healed. My heart swelled with pride every time I hear someone softly whisper, "Thank you, doctor," through their tears. That day I vowed, I will be a great doctor like my father. I would take the clinic that shut down with his death and reopen it with my own 2 hands. The only possessions my father left me were the encyclopedia that filled his bookshelves, back issues of the American Journal of Medicine, and worn-out stethoscopes. It was so characteristic of him that I was moved to tears. Since then, I've dedicated more time to my studies. Sometimes the stress is too much and I feel like giving up. But at those times, I visit hospitals to lighten my mood. I hop on random buses and trains until I find a hospital I like to visit. When I arrive, I see people suffering from illnesses, healthcare providers offering their sincere support, smiling patients leaving the hospital. Every one of those people rekindles the fire of my motivation. You may find it strange that I take hospital tours to feel refreshed, but I think that all scientific girls are a little eccentric to begin with. Itsumi Shiraishi was more balanced in that sense. I assumed that she was a liberal arts type because she ran the literature club. So I was surprised when we ended up in the same science class in our 2nd year. I am confident that I will not lose to anyone in mathematics and science. But no, I don't do well in classical literature, kanji, and English. But Itsumi Shiraishi was unbeatable in those subjects too. How irritating. She must have been right and left-brained. Hey Olivia, hope you're doing well. Hi Ohio. There are many bright students at the school, of course. However, Itsumi Shiraishi was my personal rival. I spent half of each day studying just so I wouldn't lose to her. Just when I felt like I couldn't keep up this exhausting routine any longer, Itsumi Shiraishi invited me to a literature club in my second year of high school. Sayuri Sumikawa, another student in my grade, warmly welcomed me into the club. At the time, the only other members included Akane Kominami and first-year student Shio Takaoka. I know she's billed as a high school author and all, but I didn't finish her book. My head started to hurt just from reading the first page. Is that style the trend though? Honestly, I'm not into it, but of course I told Shio that I read the whole thing. The book discussions were excruciating at first. Even if I did do the readings, I was terrible at answering questions like, what is the theme of the piece? Or, how do you feel about it? Or, what is the story trying to say about modern society? And voicing my opinion about the novels. You can't just say, it was interesting, Sonoko, Itsumi often said, disconcerted. But that's really all I felt, I would reply. That can't be. Every story has a theme and a question for the audience, she would retort. That was a plausible argument. Okay, then what about the Legend of Momotaro? I asked jokingly. To my surprise, Itsumi launched into a rapid-fire discourse on Momotaro's relevance to today's aging society, pregnancy over the age of 40, and the declining birth rate, and the absurdity of the violent resolve to exterminate the Oni. At first, I got Itsumi to give me easy assignments such as medical works of literature by Robin Cook and Michael Crichton. I was so fascinated with their stories of heart transplants and rare bacteria. I could read them from dawn until dusk. Shio and Akane didn't seem to enjoy them nearly as much as I did, as was clear after Akane exploded saying that these books are so boring that they'll ruin tea time. Nevertheless, human beings are, above all, creatures that can learn. Despite my apathy towards the book discussions, I gradually learned how to understand literature after reading more and listening to the members' thoughts and analysis. The trick to lengthy novels is to extract 6W1H or 6W2H instead of 5W1H, and then compare the book to modern trends and events. Once I got the hang of this, the discussions weren't so painful for me anymore. Take Stendhal's The Red and the Black, for example. When? 19th century, the Restoration period. Where? France. Who? Julien Sorel, a man born into poverty. What? Sentenced to death at 23 years old. Why? Shoots his past lover to death, thinking he had been betrayed. How? Julien's failed plots to gain power and love caused his downfall. Humans still tend to be controlled by power and money in the contemporary era. However, modern Japanese people have lost the nobility or heroism that Julien displays when he accepts the death penalty in exchange for true love. Here is another example, The Great Gatsby, by F. Scott Fitzgerald. When? The 1920s, post-World War I. Where? New York suburbs, Long Island. Who? Mysterious millionaire, J. Gatsby. What? Falsely accused of a crime, shot to death. Why? Attempts to reclaim his former lover from her current husband. How? After Gatsby goes to war, his lover marries a millionaire, he becomes obsessed with vindication, and decides his life to the acquisition of social status, wealth, and success. My Hafu, you are being very wholesome right now. Thank you very much, and wish you the best too. Have a good sleep, Hafu. Bye. Ba-ba-ba. Whether it be affection, power, or social status, people yearn for what they can't have. While it is foolish to single-mindedly pursue these things, it is also in a way endearing. We keep searching for an innocent man like Gatsby because we know that there is no one actually like him, that he is just an illusion. Itsumi was glad to see that I was proactive in the discussion. You look at things in an interesting way. How do you analyze what you read? Itsumi asked me one day. I then showed her my logical 5W1H analysis. This is so you. You read with your head rather than your heart. She laughed loudly. I may not have a full understanding of literature, but I believe I made the right decision by joining the club. First, there are no downsides to enhancing my reading abilities. Second, I can eat Akane's handmade sweets whenever I want. And third, I get to participate in the unique mystery stew meetings. Itsumi Shiraishi reopened the literature club, which had been shut down after all of its previous members quit. What the? Thanks for the sub, Hafu. I'm sorry, I have alerts off right now, so I'm usually late with follows and subscriptions because during reading streams I turn alerts off. And raids, but yeah, thank you very much, Hafu. Hopefully I can drop by one day. Take care. I forgot where we were. I'll just read this again. Itsumi Shirashi reopened the literature club, which had been shut down after all of its previous members quit. When she entered high school at that time, Mr. Hojo, our advisor, gave Itsumi the literature club handbook. The handbook has been passed down for generations and provides instructions for the book discussions, procedures for the debates, and rules for the mystery stew. The mystery stew must take place in complete darkness. The club president must act as the facilitator, aka the pot bearer. Items do not have to be edible, but must be sanitary. The club president must make delicious desserts as a palate cleanser. A member must stand in the reading corner while reading aloud. Members must eat as they listen to the readings. Yep, take care, Hafu. I was initially appalled trying to imagine what kind of sick individual would think up such peculiar rules, but once I actually joined in on one, I found the meetings exhilarating. You nervously pick up a mystery item with chopsticks and bring it to your mouth. The texture feels revolting against your lips. You get an awful rush of chills when it doesn't taste as you expected. I never thought I'd be able to focus on the members' stories with all this going on, but I was surprised to find that I remembered them even better than stories I had read in a well-lit room. Your imagination sparks, and the stories appears to you as if on a scroll rolled out on your feet. Brain activity increases in the dark and helps you see things more vividly. You also feel mischievous. I know it's against the rules to say this, but I was the one who brought the strawberry rice cake, macadamia nuts, and the Chanel watch last year. The strawberry rice cake melted into the soup, boiling the meat, fish, and vegetables in a sweet goo, which made for a terrible stew. I have to say, I was snickering myself the whole time listening to the other members nearly shriek while they ate. Then, when I bought the macadamia nut, someone yelled, "There's rocks in it." I sat there thinking, fooled you. I also chose a Chanel watch because I knew it would take everyone by surprise. When I saw how envious everyone looked when they saw what Itsumi blissfully held in her hands, I wanted to boast and say it was me. I brought the watch, but I had to follow the rules and keep it a secret. I still regret not having said anything. Book discussions and mystery stew meetings weren't our only club activities. The Easter and Pentecost Bazaar was also a huge task, but this year I was chosen to be the head of the executive committee, and I didn't really get to participate in the bazaar. Last year, when I was just a regular committee member, I helped out the head of the committee because I saw how busy she was and felt sorry for her. Then this year, it was my turn to fill that position. I was incredibly busy. I discussed poster design with the art club, made pamphlets to hand out to our neighbors, had meetings with the chorus club, and ordered eggs for the egg hunt. I had to write an easy-to-understand description of Easter on a pamphlet for children and others unfamiliar with the holiday. In the end, I came up with: Easter is a festival that celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The first 50 days of the Easter season is called Eastertide, and the 50th day is called Pentecost, which is the day that the Holy Spirit descends onto earth. Our academy celebrates these important events by holding a charity bazaar every year in June. We paint eggs, a symbol of life, and hide them in the courtyard. Then, there will be an egg hunt for all the children to participate in. Please visit our bazaar and cafe corner at your leisure. There will also be a donation box. Donations will be given to the Red Cross, retirement homes, and others who desperately need these funds. Jesus Christ lives. He is of eternal life. I emailed parents asking for their assistance and donations, arranged a stage rental for the courtyard, and completed many others arduous tasks, all for one reason: to thank Mr. Shiraishi, the chairman of our school. Mr. Shiraishi is Itsumi's father. He runs a general hospital, a commercial building, and all other sorts of businesses in addition to his academy. In other schools, most students normally don't know their school chairman by face, but Mr. Shiraishi is different. He regularly comes to school to talk with the students and visits every semester to check on our grades. He even allows good students to undergo special training, letting them sit in on other classes and make sure the professors are performing at their best. Y'all got pranked. The person looking at her with gosh darn it, Sofu. And just a reminder, Sonoko is talking about Itsumi Saw right now. She's the one that's been accused of having an affair with the chairman of the school, so She might use this to try to clear her name, or not, who knows. Mr. Shiraishi's motto is that school administration is the ultimate service industry. He believes that it is his obligation to elevate students' moral consciousness and academic abilities. Mr. Shiraishi also actively participated in school functions. Out of all the school events, the one he helped out with the most was the Easter Bazaar. In fact, he planned every detail of the event himself. This is our chance to teach our neighbors about Christ's love and spirit and to give back to the community, he said. Oh, he's not reading, let's show the wardrobe. That's not happening, Nasty. Not this time. And I, myself, am personally indebted to Mr. Shiraishi. For a long time, I had wanted to sit in on a human dissection. My father couldn't perform dissections or surgeries in his tiny clinic, but since I decided to become a doctor, I thought I should watch a dissection at least once. Last year, when I became a member of the executive committee, I volunteered to report directly to Mr. Shiraishi. The first time we ever met face to face, I requested to sit in on a dissection. I feared he would say, "This isn't child's play," and prepare myself for a curt rejection. Sorry, she passed away. Anyways, I did not have enough. God dang, it's so full. Order drug drip check. That's not happening. Oi. Understood. I'll let the chief of surgery know. Please contact my hospital anytime you like, Mr. Shiraishi said instead, consenting immediately. The next week, I was standing in front of an operating table with the professor and interns of an anatomy class. I wasn't holding a scalpel, of course. I simply watched from the side, but I learned so much more from studying the organs in person than just looking at a diagram or picture. The brain, heart, lungs, livers, kidneys, and arteries were silently removed and cut open. I was worried that I'd feel sick or go into a state of shock, but I was surprisingly calm. Perhaps my brain didn't connect the body in front of me with the concept of death. The tissue wasn't something grotesque, but a precious material critical for making advancements in the medical field. When the dissection ended, I was sure of only one thing. Souls do not dwell in the human body. I looked at the body from head to toe, in the spaces between brain cells in every chamber of the heart. There is no space for the soul to exist. Joy, sorrow, anger, and jealousy are emotions that occur in the small organ we know as the brain, and are predominantly controlled by the amygdala, limbic system, and the neocortex. Humans do not exist because they have souls. They live because breathing causes oxygen to travel through the body, secrete physiologically active substances, create blood flow, and maintain their metabolisms. The dissection made me realize that life is nothing more than a simple physiological function. Not having it? Yeah, whatever, soulful. Even though I am enrolled in a missionary school, I was never a Christian. I don't believe in a God or any other unscientific being, nor do I assign meaning to the Holy Spirit or eternal life. I only believe what I see. However, if people find solace in the existence of God or souls, especially those who are ill and rely on those entities for hope, I feel I must seriously try and understand these things for my future patients. I changed drastically after the dissection. It made me contemplate life. What it is, how one should die, what is God, and what a doctor should do, and reconfirm my decision to seriously pursue my path. I decided to head the executive committee to try and repay Mr. Shiraishi for giving me that precious experience last year. We started preparing for the Easter Bazaar at the beginning of the new academic year. Most missionary schools and churches have events in April when Easter Sabbath typically falls. However, our academy celebrates Easter and Pentecost in the middle of June in order to avoid the chaos of the new school year. Last year, I only visited Mr. Shiraishi as residence for a few times to report on committee activities, but as I became head of the committee, our meetings became more frequent. I would ask for his opinion on the rough draft of the Easter poster, and gave him price quotations for and a final list of the tentative shops for the bazaar. Even though Mr. Shiraishi surely knows time is money, he spent his time on his students, instead of on hobbies or vacations, and I was grateful for that. He inspired me to dedicate all of my time to studying and perfecting the festival preparations, no matter what it took. I became more enthusiastic in every conversation and often found us talking in the library for 3 hours at a time. And glug glug glug. Since most of these meetings and preparations took place after school, I wasn't able to attend most of the literature club meetings. I'm sure they also had daily meetings about the Easter festival arrangements. I couldn't insist on like I did last year. Well, we baked 200 cakes, so I imagine that they were much busier obtaining ingredients and cooking utensils than they had been before. Maybe that's why I never ran into Itsumi when I visited her father. She must have been constantly running around like crazy. At any rate, Itsumi was, like her father, hot-blooded and persistent. What will you think of a bunny dance? Mr. Shiraishi suggested one day, with a twinkle in his eye. Bunnies? I asked. You know, Easter bunnies. We'll have the students wear bunny costumes and do a little dance as they walk around, like they're in a make-believe land. Don't you feel excited just thinking about it? These are the bunnies I called, that I said that they were stoned, right? Don't worry about it. He had a point. It certainly would feel like a fairy tale if we had Easter bunnies dancing in front of the Academy's European Middle-Age style architecture. It was hard to picture that this man, a code rationalist whom many fear, who expands his business by aggressively acquiring other companies, would have such an innocent idea. It sounds great, I reply, holding back laughter, trying my best to show that I agreed. Despite his silly idea, I really did enjoy talking to him and listening to his various suggestions. Oh, don't give me that face. Oh, wait. I just want to stop by and say hi. Hey, bro. Yeah, hello to you too. Take care, bro. I know it's pretty late for you. Yeah. Good luck with whatever you need and what you're doing in life, and just, wish you the best. Thanks for dropping by. So I borrowed a laptop in his library and started searching for costume rental companies. There is a logical explanation as to why Mr. Shiraishi let me borrow his laptop. Last year, when I visited Mr. Shiraishi to talk about my progress report, I walked in on a telephone conversation between him and his secretary. He was trying to send urgent instructions to his branch office when his computer suddenly shut down and wouldn't restart. As a child, I used to disassemble and reassemble computers for fun, so I'm actually quite the tech whiz. He ordered his secretary to have his computer repaired immediately and then angrily hung up. That was when I asked if he'd like me to take a look at it. Even if I wasn't able to fix his computer, I figured I'd be able to extract some data out of it. Oh. I was scratching my face. Use my face like this? Reflecting something, not my face though. Hey Eggward, hope we're doing well. Yo, I fear that I'm gonna have a book and I'm not going to realize how reflective it is, and I'm just gonna do a sudden face reveal, and you just see a literal a baguette, and I'll never be able to live it down. My hypothesis was correct. I was able to restart the computer in safe mode and put the necessary information onto a flash memory stick before the repairman rushed in with a replacement computer. Mr. Shiraishi thanked me for loading the data onto his computer and for doing it so quickly he didn't have to waste time waiting for his files. He was so profuse in his thanks, I started to feel embarrassed. From that point on, Mr. Shiraishi put his trust in me. I am not only competent with computers, I also know that I'm good at getting things done. I ran as many errands as I could while Mr. Shiraishi dealt with the incessant calls he'd received during our meetings. On this occasion, I had finished negotiating prices with a costume rental company and ordered 10 bunny suits by the time he had hung up the phone. That's incredible, Sonoko. Listen, how would you like to be my assistant when you graduate? He suggested then. I could only take this as the highest compliment. I was delighted. If only my father were still alive. If I only had a father like Mr. Shiraishi, I thought. And yes, I felt jealous of Itsumi. It would be an honor, I said. I'm serious. I mean, you're better than my secretary? I hate when people mess with my things. I never even let my secretary enter my library. In fact, you're the first person I've ever allowed to handle a library computer, Mr. Shiraishi admitted. When he grinned, his eyes crinkled. But I know you want to be a doctor. Well, after you get your degree, I'd like to work at my hospital, he offered. I'd love to. Here, take this. There's a small reward for your hard work, said Mr. Shiraishi. I have no idea. When he said, I'd like you to work at my hospital, I felt excited and happy too. I don't know why. Hi, sorry for good English. I never heard that one before. Hey, Choco. Here, take this. It's a small reward for your hard work. And Mr. Shiraishi, Mr. Shiraishi. He opened his desk drawer and took out a box wrapped in decorative paper. I went to Paris on business last week. This is a souvenir. Oh, you shouldn't have. Please, take it. It's a thank you gift for your diligent work as head of the executive committee. Are you sure? Of course, open it. I opened the check wrapping paper to reveal a box of Guerlain, my favorite perfume. It's an exclusive perfume sold every spring. I love it. I buy Grillian every year. I'm glad you like it, but please don't tell it to me. I can only get one bottle. This should actually confess, scratching his head. Thank you so much, I said. Yo. What kind of... The chairman of the school giving a bottle of perfume to a high schooler is kind of weird. But, I mean, they're like a really rich, bougie school, so... They're like the high class, all the high class students and rich people are there, so... What do I know? I don't know what rich people think, how rich people think. I'll cherish it always, Dad, I almost said. Wait, I worry that I never received gifts from my own father again. Mr. Shiraishi must have surreptitiously taken on that role for me. I'll cherish it always, Dad, I almost said. I panicked and swallowed my words. Classes, tests, Easter preparations, literature club, independent studies. With all the pressure, I nearly combusted with stress. I found it hard to keep going. I tried reading my textbooks at home, but the information wouldn't stick in my head. This is no good, I thought. Finally, I set my study materials aside and decided to go on a hospital tour. It was a Saturday afternoon. I figured the hospital would inevitably be crowded. I quickly switched from one train to the next until I arrived at a general hospital in the suburbs. Sure enough, there are people everywhere. The lobby, information desk, emergency exit, cafeteria, cafe, shops, internal medicine, radiology department. I took it all in. I saw doctors and nurses who do anything to heal their fearful patients of their pain and suffering. Right, I thought. I have to try much, much harder for my future patients. Someday I need to be able to save them. The only time we're trying to just hand out perfumes for Mission to rejuvenate, complete. Feeling recharged, I walked back down the stairs to the lobby. It was there, and I noticed an unusual presence. Itsumi Shiraishi. Her beauty stood out in the crowded hospital. Maybe she had also come to mentally recharge after all. She'd come all the way to the suburbs instead of going to her father's prominent hospital. Perhaps, like me, she was also burnt out. Itsumi, I was about to say, but stopped myself. Her expression was so vacant. It seemed like she was unconscious. Her skin was sickly pale, and she had lost the sparkle in her eyes. She stumbled around the lobby as if sleepwalking. When she came back to school, Natsumi didn't seem like herself. Wait, shoot, there was... This coincides with, Ooh. Wait, let me look at my character map. So the person who... Oh, was it Milei? Milei accused Sonoko, right? No, I think it was Akane's account, right? Because Akane was talking about how she kept stealing stuff, and then Itsumi had to take breaks from school, because she had to settle her thoughts, and Akane brought that up. And the fact that she took absence from school, I think coincides with this for being sick. But we still don't know if like any of the reasons is true. Because all these girls could be lying. They're probably all half truths, half lies. She was morose and hardly ever smiled. She wasn't even her cheerful, lively self. Itsumi had called to her between classes the following week. What? She answered lethargically. Her gaze was incredibly listless. It's nothing, I found myself saying. You're a strange one, Sonoko, she smiled. But it was weak. Get to a part where Fennel snaps? Yo, nasty, get the heck out of here. Hey, I hope we're doing well. Oh, wait, I'm gonna crack my fingers, hold up. Alright, there we go. Itsumi was starting to look more like a patient than a doctor she aspired to be. I wanted to tell her I had seen her the previous Saturday, but I decided not to. Even at the salon, Itsumi drooped languidly on the sofa. She was normally inseparable from her books, but now just closed her eyes and listened to a piano piece by Chopin. Itsumi, do you feel sick? Diana, the international student, inquired, sounding worried. Yeah, a little. My body feels sluggish. You're tired. I'll give you a massage with rose oil. Go change into your robe and come back when you're done, Diana said. Once Itsumi came back. Yo. Diana's saying I'll give you a massage is definitely with the evil Patrick face. If you remember Diana's short story, she mad simps. Mad is a mad shrimp for Itsumi. Diana said once Itsumi came back, she had Itsumi lay face down. Diana started rubbing the sweet-smelling Bulgarian rose oil onto her arms and back and then lightly began massaging her. How's that? Really good. Itsumi started to doze off. Teacher, there won't be a test after we're finished with the story, right? Well, sorry, bro. There will be, and it will be 100% of your grade. I'll be nice. 99% of your grade. The 1% of your grade is attendance. Really good, Itsumi started to doze off. I thought she was probably just sleep deprived. Even if she'd been sleeping well, we still had to deal with the difficult homework assignments we received every day in science class. Perhaps Itsumi was feeling the stress that came with being the chairman's daughter. But I felt like there was something else at work. I watched Diana diligently massaging Itsumi. Looking back, I felt like Itsumi had been slowly changing since the spring. Spring, yes. Right around the time that Diana the Sheva came to Japan. Oh no, she's going to accuse Diana, huh? Okay. It had been the first morning assembly of the semester. The auditorium was enveloped with a strange excitement while the principal introduced Diana at the altar. In front of the entire student body, she had translucent white skin, long ebony black hair. Her large, dark eyes were as lustrous as the waves of the Dead Sea that crash on the shore of her homeland. She had a rigid-looking nose and well-proportioned lips. Oh my gosh. What kind of description was that? Lustrous as the waves of the Dead Sea that crash onto the shores of her homeland. How beautiful. Iggy, you're so cursed. What the heck is that emote? Diana was stunning. She had a mysterious southern Slavic allure, unlike the blonde-haired, blue-eyed inhabitants of the West, or black hair and black eyes of the East. Our school uniform looked surprisingly nice on her. Until then, I thought no one as lovely as Itsumi could exist. But I had to say, Diana's unique beauty may have been on Itsumi's level. The students weren't just making a fuss because they were impressed by her beauty. Diana was also identical to the painting of the girl in the new church. The painting's title is Jesus Christ and the Devil Who Fears Christ with His Servant. The devil's female servants looked eerily like Diana. What the heck? Like, man, you girl, you kind of look like the devil's female servants. What in the world? My name is Diana Desheva. I'm from Leningrad, a village in Bulgaria. It's nice to meet you, she announced in Japanese with astonishing fluency. She demurely pinched the hem of her skirt, put one leg behind her, and bowed her head as she curtsied. It certainly wasn't an elegant gesture and looked more like the folk dance of a village girl, but had its own rough charm. The gesture assuaged the students' initial dark impression, and they welcomed her to our school with a friendly round of applause. But even with all the students clapping, I still felt that there was something dark lurking within her. Coco D's nuts? What the heck, Choco? You stop that. It isn't like me, do you think this way? I know. The resemblance between Diana and the girl in the painting had made me uneasy. Then, when I saw her dragging her leg after stepping down from the altar, I was only more disturbed. The painting of the devil's servants used to hang in another convent, which was destroyed in a fire. The fire had also burned off the portion of the picture with the servant's leg. Itsumi and Diana were close from day one. My chat. Itsumi said that she had stayed at Diana's house when she studied abroad. She must be a good person if Itsumi likes her, I thought. I felt relieved. I tried speaking with her and found her extremely easy to talk to, which made me feel embarrassed for pegging her as some menacing character. Plus, she also spoke almost perfect Japanese. She knew quite a bit about our culture. I heard that Diana's twin sister was originally supposed to study abroad at our school, but I had a funny feeling that Diana would have a more fulfilling experience than her sister ever could. Rip. Diana's village was so full of flowers that it wouldn't be wrong to call it Flower Village. That's why I just love flowers, Diana explained, decorating the academy with them. On top of the obvious places like the classrooms, she had also decorated the faculty room, sunroom, bathrooms, entrances, and the hallway windows, surrounding students in a sweet aroma wherever they go. Seeing such delicate scenery, one couldn't help but feel prior to Diana's arrival, life at the academy had been regrettably dreary. Oh, no, 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 no. They are breakers. I want to give the school flowers from my village to thank them for letting me study abroad and to commemorate my stay, Diana remarked as she planted seeds in a flower bed next to a new church. I anticipated that the flower of Diana's hometown was the rose, but I was mistaken. Everyone think of roses when they think of Bulgaria, but the lily of the valley is what my hometown is famous for. The village is blanketed in white during the first day of summer. It's very lovely, the Bulgarian girl mentioned. Okay, so this is probably something I should probably bring up. So the lily of the valley, which is a flower, a lily, that Itsumi, the victim, held during her death, had it in her hands. And if people were to assume that was a death message or like a message to help find the perpetrator, the murderer, then we could connect this to the fact to Diana, whose hometown had a lot of lily valleys and enjoyed planting them. But this was also used in a previous short story or account against Shio, who is a author of a book, and the title of the book is the Japanese name of Lily of the Valley. So they're also using that so someone's also using that as a means to accuse Shio. While I assume here, Sonoko is using this as a means to accuse Diana. So just thought I'd bring that up. Okay. You got lily seeds all the way from your village? Itsumi asked Diana. Yes, it took some time for my parents to send them to me, but I luckily got them in time to plant, Diana replied, assiduously piling soil onto the seeds she had placed in the ground. When will they bloom? I think around May. These lilies are resistant to warm weather. This garden will stay cool in the shade. So they might even make it through the summer. Ah, I can't wait, Sari said, looking entranced. Hey yo, before you kill me, can I have one of your flowers? So fool, I'm smacking you. It could also just be planted by someone too. Itsumi invited Diana to join a club, and of course she joined. Since I had assumed that Diana couldn't read Japanese, I was astonished to see her read through all of Yukio Mishima's Confessions of a Mask and comment on it in Japanese without even having to pause at her very first meeting. She often put herself down for her clumsy Japanese, but I thought it was unbelievable that she was so fluent with just 1 or 2 years of study. I could never. Diana was already acquainted with Shio, and they frequently reminisced about their memories in Bulgaria. It seemed like Shio had a great time in Bulgaria, which is completely the opposite of Diana's account, by the way, as she flaunted the pictures she took with her single lens and reflex camera, her prized possession, and told us about the history and legends of all the places she had visited. So this coincides with Diana's account of Shio. Every one of Shio's photos was captured the naive, lovable faces of the wild foxes and rabbits, the mountaintops enshrouded in billows of white clouds, the lush green riverbanks teemed with life, the pictures filled with joy just from looking at them. But in the midst of all of these brilliantly colored photos was one painted over in black. Oh. I was startled. Seeing it was as ominous as seeing the words of an obituary. Hey, what do we have here? Sari asked innocently, picking up the photo. You do reading streams often? Every week, bro. Once every week. Every Thursday night my time. Or Thursday night 11:45 at PM. I did start an hour late today. Whoops. But yeah, once every week, bro. We finished 2 books so far. This is the 3rd book. And they're all usually weeb books, light novels, Japanese light novels. Oh, that? Shio started to say. I was taken at Lamia's feast, Diana broke in. 2 previous books, we read Weathering with You was our first book, and our second book was 5 centimeters per second. Upon further examination, I realized that it hadn't been printed over. The lighting of the photo was just so dark that it just looked that way. I want to see, Akane said. Sayuri handed her the photo and she looked at it. Oh, everyone's dressed in black, she remarked. The photo was passed to me. Itsumi was sandwiched between Diana and a girl who looked like her. I assumed her twin. All three of them had their hair down and wore black feathers and bright red lipsticks. What's Lamia? Sayuri inquired. Lamia is a witch, a vampire. Diana says that there are a lot of legends about vampires in Bulgaria. Itsumi answered. Lamia's feast is a festival. It's kind of like the American Halloween. Goosebumps spread over my body the moment I saw the photo. Diana was smiling creepily at the camera. The blazing flames reflected a terrifying spirit within her eyes. Diana looked like her twin, but her energy wasn't kind and warm like her sister's. What was that feeling? That menacing, unsettling feeling. It was almost as if she wasn't human. I feel like a lot of Sonoko's accounts, a lot of it is just like speculation. I always try to like relate or connect Diana with either religion or just something like there's like a gut feeling. Nothing really like definitive. I looked up and accidentally met eyes with Diana. Her gaze was abnormally sharp, as if a criminal were threatening a witness, as if she were warning me, as if she were preying upon me. We stared at each other for a moment, neither of us looking away. Just so you know, I don't believe in what cannot be explained by science, which is why I am hesitant to write about what I witnessed. I still can't believe I saw it with my own eyes. Was it real? Was I half asleep? No, but I know what happened. I know what happened best. It was not a hallucination, but reality. Therefore, I must write it down. This is my account of that peculiar incident. Diana always carried something wrapped in a cloth that seemed very important to her. Okay, so this, if y'all remember, Diana mentioned that this covered in cloth was the bear, or the, not teddy bear, sorry. Was it teddy bear? It was a doll that looked very similar to Itsumi. And Diana, being a shrimp that she is, mentioned that she kept it a lot, but she felt embarrassed taking it out around, so she would always keep it covered in a cloth as she walked around. So this is probably referring to that. Facts, so fool. She never revealed what it was or let it go. She held it right against her chest during class. The girls around her were naturally very curious about it. Many of them asked her what it was, but she only smiled in response. Finally, one girl suggested that it might be a charm from her hometown, and everyone took that for the truth and eventually lost interest in the item in the cloth. I only found out what it was by chance. One day, I'd been so focused on studying, I hardly realized it was morning. If I fell asleep then, I'd be late for class. I thought I should catch the earliest train to school and then rest in the nurse's office until the morning assembly. A janitor opened the school gates for me when I arrived. When I went inside, I noticed a shadow under a tree in the courtyard. Who would be here at this hour? I stealthily edged towards the shadow in the morning fog. A shadow, slowly and stiffly indeed, dragged its legs as it moved. That's right, it would make sense for Diana to be here since she's staying in the convent. So, a shadow dragged its leg as it moved, probably refers to Diana, or likely refers to Diana is what Sonoko is saying, because one of Diana's legs is kind of limp. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going with the flow. Oh yeah, I can explain some of the story at the end, but it's about a literature club whose club president died was it a week or two ago? I forgot. A week or two ago, and no one knows the cause of death. And now the current president, or the former vice president of the club, gathers all the members to give a story on what happened during that day and their relationship with Itsumi, basically. And basically, they're just doing like this Among Us meeting to help find out who the killer was, who the imposter was. I use that as my assignment. Oi. And I can explain who accuses who at the end, because I need to write down my character map after this. Then I saw Diana unravel the cloth. It was a doll, yep, just as I mentioned. Intrigued by the thought that Diana had been carrying a doll around all this time, I quietly tiptoed to a place where I could get a better view. Diana held the doll against the trunk of the tree. She then took out a knife and with a powerful thrust stabbed it into the doll's chest. Yo? That was low-key facts. True. It's Among Us, but it's like a freaking 5-way tie because everyone's accusing someone else. And I assume Sayuri, the vice president, is gonna be a tiebreaker. I have no idea. Terrified, I stretched my neck out so I could just see a little bit more and gasped. A doll looks exactly like Itsumi Shiraishi. The doll was attached to a cross Diana had pinned against a tree. She started to mumble. It sounded like Bulgarian. The dark, melancholy intonation. I'm sorry, just imagine. Is she actually like doing some kind of satanic ritual right now? Is this what Soko saw? I mean, this is pretty good evidence because if she can't prove that she didn't stab the doll, because the doll's from Bulgaria, it's not from here, so it's gonna hard to like. It's probably gonna be pretty hard to order like a second version of the doll, unless she has it. She has multiple of them, which actually also wouldn't be surprising. So actually, it's kind of tough. Although I didn't know the meaning of that phrase, which ended in a sharp syllable. Oh wait, sorry. The dark, melancholy intonation of her voice trembled eerily in the air. She repeated the same words over and over again. Although I didn't know the meaning of that phrase, which ended in a sharp syllable, I felt like it had torn into my heart. I was deeply uncomfortable. Imagine the book says the word SS and L plus ratio, bruh. Please no. I felt like it had torn into my heart. Oh wait. I took shallow breaths as I watched Diana continue to recite what sounded like an incantation. I wonder how much time has passed. Family? Diana smirked with satisfaction and slowly pulled the knife out from the doll's chest. She wrapped the doll in the cloth, held it close to her chest, and slowly made her way back to the convent. After she left, I couldn't move. I couldn't understand what I'd just seen. A few hours later, Itsumi Shiraishi came in late for the morning assembly looking pale. Itsumi got freaking cursed. The voodoo magic actually worked. You're never late. Is something wrong? I asked. I don't know. I was in a lot of pain, Itsumi answered. My chest suddenly started hurting. I find it's funny because Soko is like a doctor, right, and studying to be like a doctor, but like this is coming. But then she's like talking about voodoo magic. The doo-doo magic. That's fine. It's pretty weird. What do you mean? I gives myself a. What's a BBL? I don't know what BBL is, but I'm sure that's a very funny statement if I knew what that means. I panicked and rushed over to my father's hospital to have it checked out. Wait. What is it down my ears? I panicked and rushed over to my hospital, but they couldn't find anything, as we explained. The image of the blade that stabbed the doll's chest floated into my mind. I looked back at Diana's seat. She sat there stroking the doll from over the cloth with a mysterious grin on her face. She was mumbling something. It was a phrase that finished with the harsh syllable, the one she had just been reciting before. My eyes were with Diana's. She looked frighteningly beautiful. Big bashly. I don't know. Way that's what it means, right? Oh, that's what it is. Oh, I see. Oh, you stuffed that, so fool. And far more alive than Itsumi. That was when Itsumi's health started gradually deteriorating. I had always sneered at the idea of fortune tellers and curses, and yet found myself worrying about Diana and her doll. According to my research, there's something called a voodoo doll that is used in black magic. According to my research, it talks about black magic. That's insane. If you cause pain to a doll that looks like your enemy, the actual person will feel the pain that you inflict upon the doll. The more they look alike, the more effective it will be. Why would Diana do this if Itsumi was her friend? After trying to wrap my brain around it, I finally come to a conclusion. Diana did it because Itsumi had spoken with the principal and her father, the academy chairman, and recommended that this be the last year to invite a student from Levergrad to the academy. This was not mentioned in Diana's account. But I guess, of course, Diana would omit it so that she wouldn't they wouldn't infer a motive from her account. Diana's stay was incredibly beneficial to our school. The other students were able to meet a foreigner and learn about the lifestyle and culture of a country which is hardly ever covered in the media. And this was an immensely valuable experience for us students. So it's suggested that rather than continue to bring students from Bulgaria, the academy should invite students from a different small country each year instead. Wait, but why would killing Itsumi solve this though? Yo, they're gonna cancel the scholarship program. Let's just kill her. And Mr. Shiraishi and the principal basically left the matter in Itsumi's hands. She began researching Middle East, Asia, and Africa and contacted their respective embassies to figure out how to make her idea a reality. If Itsumi had succeeded, Diana would be the first and last international citizen from Bulgaria. Really? That's an insane motive. Then Jojo Siwa's pain after having every six by her look. God dang, that's so fool. Yo, I don't know anything about. If it weren't for the advertisement my parents sees, I would never know who Jojo Siwa was. My parents like watch these like Asian, like Hong Kong dramas, Chinese dramas on this random site, basically pirating them, are basically in the high seas, kind of like watching anime from like third-party sites. That's what my parents do for Chinese drama. And the ads that they have in those Chinese dramas is Jojo Siwa. And I don't know why. It's so loud. They're so loud. I hear Jojo's, like during that time I would hear Jojo Siwa across the house. Like, hey, it's me or whatever, talking about her, I don't know, her tour concert, I don't know. And my dad would always just give like the surprise Pikachu face. Like, who is this person? That was my only interaction or exposure to Jojo Siwa. I don't know anything about Jojo Siwa other than those advertisements. And it's just a bunch of Middle East. So forgetting. I can't. No, stop. There's no way. Oh my god. I can't imagine my dad going doing Jojo Siwa concert. Oh no. These are my favorite steadies or oh no. If it's just a joke Choco, poggers. But if you're actually serious, Jojo Siwa, wait, I don't know who Jojo Siwa is myself. I think I assume she's like a singer or influencer? She seems like kind of like a influencer considering her advertisement. But yeah, you can just search up Choco. I believe she's just some kind of content creator, influencer. TV persona for kids, okay, that makes way more sense. Okay. I see, so. You go accidentally pull a secret book lever and it opens a secret. Don't do it, Soulful, don't do it. Cause we are Buddhists and my parents are Buddhists, we do have shrines. We have 2 shrines in our house. And I swear, if there's like a button to like switch that shrine to a Jojo Siwa shrine, I'm gonna flip stuff. Alright, let's continue reading. I see, bro. We Japanese are from a country far wealthier than Bulgaria, so it was hard for us to understand Diana's situation. Leningrad is a tiny poor village in a small Eastern European country, left behind even by tourism. It has no large manufacturers and offers a low standard of living. An invitation to Japan means a lot in a village like Leningrad. Diana's sister, who works part-time at a travel agency to save her family from debt, coordinated all the travel arrangements for a stay abroad program. Diana joyfully mentioned that, despite the fact that her sister is currently hospitalized. Burp. Her sister's company plans to keep her employed long-term and give her a huge bonus because they anticipate invitations to Japan in the future. In other words, without an invitation from her academy, Diana's sister would lose her job and her family wouldn't be able to survive financially. Oh, that makes sense. Huh. I guess that makes sense, but the fact that that's still kind of weird. I don't think they would. Sure, let's say they are that poor, but would they really have their entire livelihood be relied onto one single person in the village? Or an entire family? Hey John, hope we're doing well. Diana put in serious efforts to have this program continue, which is why Itsumi's idea must have seemed like an unforgivable betrayal of trust. If Itsumi was weak, she wouldn't have the strength to keep up her negotiations. If there wasn't any negotiations, that Kang would keep inviting students from Leningrad. This must have been Diana's thought process. That thought process is whack. Jono Joel starts here, oi. Hey Jono. The fresh green spring outside bloomed as Itsumi continued to wilt. what kind of reading is, well, what kind of metaphor? That's actually really nice. Yeah, we're talking about JoJo for a bit. JoJo Siwa, but yeah, we're talking about JoJo's. Her once rosy-colored cheeks became gaunt, and it seemed like breathing was painful. I often found her lying on a sofa in the salon. Itsumi's life was being drained away. Yes, that's the perfect way to describe it. Concerned about her condition, I started taking her pulse, temperature, and blood pressure every day. One day, when I picked up her wrist to take her pulse, her nails accidentally caught my arm. Ouch. I let go of her hand and saw a single line of blood trickling down my arm. Goodness, I'm sorry, Sonoko. Itsumi apologized, rubbing my arm. I didn't notice how long my nails were. It's strange. I cut them just a few days ago. How many pages are left? Oop, hand stream. Hi, Viper. Hand stream, yeah, happens, well, reading streams, where you see my hands, happen every week. Once a week. Oh, we're doing well, Viper. I can't believe this is your most used. I can't believe it either. I mean, I use that a lot, John, though, so actually I could believe it. Like, I was like, I'm like, I gotta show people that I'm innocent, pure. I'm just pure, wholesome, innocent. Yeah. Her nails were long and sharp indeed. I knew Itsumi trimmed them regularly, so this was unusual. I'll visit the nail salon today. I'm so sorry, she apologized, but the same thing happened just a few days later. Sure, Joe? No. I love being innocent. Facts. Oh, this is so annoying. I just went to a salon a couple of days ago, Itsumi sighed, staring perplexedly at her nails. It's so weird. Why are they growing so fast? I'm sorry, Sonoko. Don't worry about it, I replied. Well, I figured that Itsumi had simply forgotten to go to this nail salon. This incident bothered me. Carefully observing her, I realized that her nails really were growing unusually fast. It can't be, and I must be mistaken. But even though Itsumi had just cut her nails, they had grown enough to break skin in just a few days. Once I started observing her more closely, I also noticed that her hair was growing at a rapid pace. One day her hair was at her shoulders, and just a couple of days later it was almost hanging down to her waist. Something was off. Something strange was happening to Itsumi's body. I was going to broach my worries with Itsumi, then I saw something happen. It was after school. We had finished our task for the Easter festival early and didn't have a literature club meeting that day. After leisurely packing up and exiting the building, I saw Itsumi leave the salon. Itsumi, let's walk home together, I called to her. As she didn't respond, I thought the noise from the sports club had probably drowned out my voice. Itsumi continued walking and entered building 2. Itsumi? She doesn't believe it. What the heck? Viper and John, both of you are about to get banned. How dare you? Itsumi turned back. She proceeded forward and I followed her. Building 2 had very little access to sunlight, and its hallways are always dark in the evening. The dim green glow of the emergency exit is the only light in the building. Students hardly ever go to Building 2, since the only classrooms there are for science experiments, home economics, and other courses that only meet infrequently. It's usually quiet, but the real reason students don't go to Building 2 is because of the rumors about the mirror. The mirror. There is a massive mirror at the end of the hallway. It's not just an ordinary mirror. Our academy received it as a gift from English nuns after the end of the war. It is enormous, 8 feet in height, 5 feet in width, and etched with Corinthians 1, chapter 13, verse 12. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in parts, that I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. I don't know how Cole was stealing my carrots and killing me. Oof. I'm not joking. Oof. Broke, no! Iggy, I'm so sorry. I mean, surely it was by accident, right? I mean, no way they would do it. Like, it was like an accident. Every school has their 7 wonders, or 7 interesting aspects, but most of the rumors about our academy have something to do with this mirror. The Bible verse etched in the mirror had inspired whispers such as, you can see who you were in your past life in the mirror, or that it will show your true self, or that it will tell you when you will die. Some students fear it, and plenty of others want to stand in front of it as if it were some sort of Ouija board. Ouija board. It's gotten to the point where I'd heard someone go around the school bragging that she was a nun in the Sengoku period. I figured Itsumi was curious about the mirror and was finally going to see it for herself. Itsumi turned in the hallway. The sound of her shoes squeaking against the linoleum floor became distant. I turned the hallway and followed after her. However, Itsumi had vanished. I stood there with a dumbfounded what the heck? Soloko's account is just like a horror movie. Excuse me? With a dumbfounded expression on my face as I gazed at my reflection in the mirror. A dead end. I could only leave from where I'd come in, but Itsumi was gone. It was as if the mirror had swallowed her up. I wasn't just seeing things, it wasn't a dream. I'd seen her with my own 2 eyes and heard her with my ears, and I had followed her right to the mirror. I don't believe in unscientific or supernatural things. However, I know Itsumi disappeared. This is an indisputable fact. I had no choice but to accept it. Something was happening to Itsumi, and Diana had mystical dark powers that had something to do with it. Shortly after that, Itsumi was was checked into a hospital. She had come down with pneumonia, an illness that affects the chest. How did this turn to some spooky magic story? I don't know. And Bulgarian fact 1, the capital of Bulgaria is Sofia. I don't know if that's true. Juked? Oh no. But that's cool, if it's true. Itsumi seemed to have regained her energy after she was released from the hospital, but her face looked gloomy and somewhat bitter. It wasn't the same Itsumi as before. When it came time for the Easter festival, I still felt like something was off. I ran around the school that morning, finishing my final preparations. I had to find a way to hide all of the Easter eggs, give the children baskets, and announce the start of the egg hunt. I was only able to take a break when I saw a guest filing in through the gates. At that point, I was ready to call the bazaar a success. I was a sigh of relief. Itsumi was supposed to read the Bible aloud in the church after the egg hunt was over, so I started looking for her. It is true? Wow. Interesting. I found Itsumi sitting next. And actually it is somewhat related to the story because we have a Bulgarian international student, so it's somewhat fun fact. Somewhat related to the story. Not really. Just other than the fact that one of the characters is Bulgarian. I found Itsumi sitting next to a flower bed, staring out into space. Itsumi, could you come test the microphone, I asked? A white lily valve gently swung in the breeze with the other flowers. What? A mic test? What was that for again? The Bible reading. You do it every year. Oh, yes. That's right. Itsumi unsteadily rose to her feet. Her face stiffened and her steps grew heavier with every step she took towards the church. I can't do this. Itsumi finally said, her voice shaking. What? I won't go to the church, I'm frightened. Itsumi, what are you talking about? I pulled on her hand, thinking that she was joking. Stop it. She twisted her body and forced her hand free. She held her head in her hands and started to shake. I can't go. I don't want to read the Bible. That sounds funny, I'm sorry. I can't go. I don't want to read the Bible. But why? Every year you read the Bible in front of the cross. Oh, the cross. Itsumi's cheeks turned white right before my eyes. I don't want to look at a cross, I'm sorry, but you just have to find someone else to do it. Without giving me a chance to stop her, Itsumi ran off. Why was she scared of the church, the Bible, the cross? I'm sorry, this is so weird, because it's so different from other accounts. This is just about like the good and bad, the Bible, the satanic ritual, the voodoo magic. How do you fill this form? But say it needs to be filled in capitals. So I have to travel to the capital city. Oh, you're trolling Choco, but oof. Into Exorcist. I entered the church alone, unsure what had happened. The painting hung directly in front of me. God and the devil who fears God with his servants. The servant, the beautiful woman identical to Diana. I felt uneasy in front of the church. Itsumi wasn't there. I ran through the school grounds and searched for her. The area was packed. It was almost time to announce the winner of the egg hunt. She's dead. Bad RNG. God, they got so full. Pushed my way through the crowds and searched the classrooms, the salon, and the courtyard. She wasn't anywhere. The only place left was a gymnasium. Just as I headed over, Diana came from behind the gymnasium holding Itsumi in her arms. Itsumi, I screamed in panic, dashing over to her. Her body was limp. What do you do to Itsumi? Alright, so this, in Diana's account, this was mentioned, but this was, this event was portrayed in her account was that Sonoko, oh no, sorry, not Sonoko, Shio, the author, the book author, choked, was trying to choke Itsumi to death in her bunny outfit. And Diana kind of saving her, helped her out of the gymnasium. So basically, Diana helping her out of the gymnasium is the only part where Sonoko sees in this account. So if y'all don't remember that part, that chapter. Who? Me? I didn't do anything, Diana answered calmly. But then why is Itsumi then knows a faint red mark on Itsumi's neck? Yeah, the faint red mark is her being choked by the bunny. Bulgaria, Boris, Greece, Turkey, North Macedonia, Serbia, and I see. Stay down, I guess. Was it blood, Lamia, witch, vampire, servant of the devil? Those horrifying words swirled around in my head. Diana covered Itsumi's neck with her cardigan as if trying to hide it from me. She seems sick. I'll take her to a salon so she can get some rest. Come on, Itsumi's going to be alright. So Diana kind of acts sus by not mentioning the red marks on her neck, because in Diana's account, Itsumi specifically told her not to tell anyone, because she doesn't want to, like, because she's, you know, she's just this nice person that doesn't really want to convict or really antagonize anyone, which is in Diana's account, antagonize Shio, the book author. But again, it could just all be a lie because no one else saw that moment, and it could just be a lie. But then I don't see a reason why. I don't see a reason why Diana herself would choke her. And like, and after choking, she's like, "Hey, you good?" And it just brings her out. Just a few weeks later, Itsumi was dead. Wait, I missed 2 lines. It was as if the servant of the devil was bringing a corpse down into hell. Just a few weeks later, Itsumi was dead. Okay, that's a time skip, bruh. At the sight of the body, I went into shock. Screams filled the air, but I was fully convinced it all made sense to me now. Diana controlled Itsumi with her sorcery. Use her as she pleased, until she finally drove Itsumi to commit suicide. I gazed at the lily of the valley in Itsumi's hand, then at the Eastern European beauty who came from where they bloom. Masses of schoolgirls broke down in tears, but only one girl stood with a satisfied grin. No shot. That was the chain of events that I personally witnessed. I'm fully aware that my story may seem unrealistic, of course, but I swear that these are the facts. Oh well, okay, we're basically done. But we read at record pace, 30 pages in an hour and a half, or basically 1 hour. Because we started a bit late. In summary, 1. The month of July after school. Who? Diana Sheva, the international student. Whom? Itsumi Shiraishi. Where? St. Mary's Academies for Girl, the annex terrace. What? Induced Itsumi to jump to her death. How? Sorcery. Why? To protect her family and hometown. It may be hard to believe, however, this is an indisputable truth behind the Itsumi Shiraishi incident. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's pretty disputable, but sure. So Fudo. Sonoko, thank you for reading. Up until today, you stuck to reading and criticism and never wrote short stories or poems. You must commemorate this as Sonoko Koda's debut work. It was logical, and coherent. Sure. Logical, what? Just like you. Yes, I do mean that in a good way, of course. But I was shocked. Did Itsumi's hair and fingernails really grow as quickly as you said? Is it true that she disappeared in the hallway? Are you sure you weren't just seeing things? I also noticed that Itsumi would often stand in front of that mirror. It's so striking and large, and we received it from an English convent over half a century ago. So it only makes sense that people will spread all sorts of rumors about it, and say that it is one of the 7 wonders of our school. But you say Itsumi was swallowed by the mirror? Is that even possible? I was surprised to hear someone as logical as you say such irrational things. Sonoko, you know I was looking for a short story, not a fairy tale, right? I just wanted to make sure. Bruh, she's getting scolded. Alright, so you're telling me that you actually saw Itsumi's hair and nails grow quickly, that she was scared of the cross in the Bible and then suddenly disappeared. This is what you're claiming, correct? Even though you used to scoff even at horoscopes. How very interesting. No, I'm not doubting you. I'm just a bit confused, but you say that you saw it, so it must be the truth. Oh my, it looks like the thunder is even closer. It's unsettling. I hope the downpour doesn't trap us in here. Now, this will be the final reading from this group. Shio Takalka, please make your way to the reading corner. Alright,